The survivor in Houston said simply, "I will consider them my angels forever. I will consider them," think of that, "my angels forever." As our nation endures the depths of loss and grief, we are also witness to the summit of American virtue, character, and courage. With the love and dedication of every American patriot, we will win this battle, we will defeat this enemy, and we will rise from this present crisis with new strength, unity, and resolve. And that's what's happening. Tremendous stories are coming out of this horrible moment, very dark moment for the world. 182, I was saying 151 for a while, and then it got up to 160, and it's 182 as I announced yesterday. 182 countries are being attacked by this virus. So I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank the American citizens for doing a great job. Stay inside and let's win this, and let's get our country open as soon as we can. I think it's going to be sooner than people think. Things are going really well. Again, light at the end of the tunnel.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest breaking news from across the globe. You guys are definitely going to want to stick around to hear about this. We're going to talk about some things that are being kicked around, some theories that are out there about these major underground bunker battles and how that would work. We're going to take a deep dive into that. Plus, we're going to look at a bunch of other breaking news, and we're going to take a look at highlights from President Trump's latest press conference where he destroys the fake news media and gives a lot of information for us to look at more closely. But we're going to check out that and a whole lot more, so stick around. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know the drill. I say thanks. If you haven't, please, it's all right. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, then select the all button so that you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. And today we are going to pick up right where we left off. We left off at 3908. We're still waiting for new Q posts, but I can tell you right now there is a lot going on. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. We're going to talk about breaking news now that's coming out about things that are really important to understanding everything that's happening with this coronavirus. We're going to talk about some theories that have been bouncing around about these underground bunkers and these underground battles that are taking place. And there's a lot of people out there that are on one side or the other. So we're going to kind of try to look at that relatively objectively. Then we're going to dive into a bunch of other news stories that are important for you guys to understand, and how there is traps being set for QAnon and all of its followers and the movement itself daily by the fake news and the deep state. And we're going to talk about how a person who was recently arrested by the FBI and charged with alleged extortion may just be the latest in that series of events. And at the end of the video, I want to put together this cut together of highlights from President Trump's latest press conference as of the making of this video, because there's a lot of information in there that you guys are going to want to check out. So stick around for it all, and we're going to get into it. But first, I want to remind everybody, video is brought to you in part by RedPillLiving.com/justinformed. I keep telling you guys, it's a great time to stock up on these vitamins, and some of the products that they have here are really great because, you got to order everything online anyway. So why not support a Patriot-owned company and help support this channel and get some great products? But I encourage everyone to check out their liposomal vitamins, the vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin B12, turmeric, all of it. You can check out the Great Awakening coffee. You can check out their Carbon 60, all that stuff. Use the link in the description and check out RedPillLiving.com/justinformed to let them know that I sent you, and use the coupon code JUSTINFORMED to get 10% off your order today. So with that, let's get into this latest story. Today, breaking news: U.S. Appeals Court hands win to Trump plan to resume federal executions. Apparently, the Trump administration's effort to resume federal executions got a boost on Tuesday from a U.S. Appeals Court, which tossed a district judge's injunction that blocked 4 death penalty sentences from being carried out. The 2-1 ruling by a 3-judge panel of U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit could pave the way to the Justice Department carrying out the first execution of federal death row inmates since 2003, although issues remain to be litigated. So I only point to this story because we know there is more going on than most people can see. And I think this article and this latest victory for the Trump administration is only lending itself to everything that we're seeing happening in real time with as President Trump says, we have active military operations going on here domestically against the cartels who are involved in drug trafficking and now confirmed by the president himself, human trafficking of children and women, right? And also other trafficking, weapons, etc. So understand that where we're at in this battle is we're at the point where we're fighting almost on all fronts right now. And that seems to be a very delicate time, very dangerous time, but it's a time that the enemies of this country, the enemies of those, we the people, are coming after us with everything they have. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. It's pretty simple. It's because they understand that we're over the target. And we're going to talk about that later in this episode, where just all of the different ways that they're trying to set up the Q movement as a whole to undermine it, and then to be able to remove those who basically get online and tell the truth every day, or at least the truth as they know it, and try to think things through and ask logical questions and deduce what is actually happening. That's really what we're up against here, and that's really what I think this movement's going to end up exposing. Now, one of the things that somebody brought to my attention, you guys may or may not be aware with this, but for a long time, the Air Force, the military has had these nuclear-powered drills, which can drill tunnels that once they are boring the hole, they can actually, basically leave a large tunnel. And this has been going on for quite some time. There are a lot of theories out there on the internet that talk about the fact that there are tunnels all around the world, and all the way through the United States from coast to coast, and all the way across. In some cases, there are tunnel systems that may or may not have been around for a long time that lead to other places. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother rabbit hole for a whole nother day. But let me ask you something that's interesting to possibly research if you're an anon out there. There have been a lot of people who've come forward talking about these machines and what they were actually used for, and the kinds of bases and underground tunnels that were created to ensure that there was a continuity of government. This is a project that was probably started a long time ago for, the worst case scenario if we were ever to go to war. But you have to ask yourself, if the people that were previously running our country, the ones that we were told to trust the most, were in charge of technology like this and had the capability to utilize these underground network of tunnels that connect the entire, let's say just for now, the entire country together, how could you use that for nefarious purposes? Could that be used for trafficking children, trafficking guns, trafficking weapons, and or trafficking other illicit materials, right? And then further to think about the fact that what if these tunnels, right, that exist, obviously, to some degree or another, what if they were being used by the deep state bad actors and others in order to do the trafficking that we're putting a stop to right now? And what if the military and President Trump got together and said, we're not going to allow this to happen anymore. We're not going to allow these tunnels to be used not only by, the deep state bad actors who we think may have been involved with this, but also they were granted access to by these bad actors to the cartels, right? Granted access in there. And then they were subsequently used and or taken or seized and or hijacked or whatever you want to call it and used for different nefarious purposes because of their existence. I mean, I'm only throwing it out there because it's a theory I went over and it really, made me start to think. So I thought I'd just throw it out there for you guys to look at. And then this kind of ties into what everybody's talking about with this coronavirus, right? Everybody's saying that there's this 5G coronavirus conspiracy theory out there about how the possible effect of 5G can amplify the effect of this virus somehow, and there somehow is a connectivity between the two. I will say this, right? There are certain elements inside of our bodies that are affected by the waves that are put off by these towers, by these invisible waves of energy that are being put into the air so that we can have the internet, right? If any scientist says that's not true, then I don't think that they're being honest, right? Because these have the ability to affect. I mean, imagine this: when they first discovered radar, they were using certain types, and they used microwave radar, and they noticed that, if you set, I don't know the exact story, but it was that, somebody who was a technician set a can of beans up next to one of these dishes, and it basically, fried it. It got it really hot because the waves were actually affecting it. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate on what these could or couldn't do, because there's a lot of other people out there who are far more skilled, who make their own, you can make your own decision about what you think about that. But I will say this: the same technology that people are claiming has this incredible ability to hurt us, I think also may hold the key to what could help us. And I'm only going to say this in the sense of, what can you use this kind of technology for? For example, could you use it for good? Could you use it to kill cancer cells? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there because a lot of people will take the doom and gloom side of it and assume everything is this negative conspiracy against us. But what if bringing this technology out and exposing its power, right, is the only way to be able to start the process of being able to use it to fight, things that exist in this world? So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm just talking this out with you guys. All the links to all of this will be in the description. If you want to talk about it, research it more, go dive deeper, please do. What are we up against here, guys? Harvard, Yale, under investigation. This is from February of 2020, but it still is the same. Harvard, Yale, under investigation for $375 million secret funding from China and Saudi Arabia. So who were the ones selling us out? It was our own intellectual elite, whatever, the intelligentsia of this country, the ones who found that there are people out there who are willing to pay a price, a very hefty price, very hefty sum, for access to information and secrets that could be used to benefit their countries. And then we saw what happened with the head of the Department of Chemistry being arrested and charged by the DOJ with working with the Chinese government, right? Or lying, basically, in no other way. It was lying about his connections to that. But that's something that's been ongoing. That's something that we've been told by Q to look at more closely. And I think it's worth getting, further in the weeds on, right? To understand that what if there were tunnels that connected all of these countries? What if some countries decide to use those for nefarious reasons, or aren't going to help us in the battle against what's happening underground? President Trump keeps saying there's a hidden enemy, right? They keep talking about, watch any of these press conferences, and it's hard not to think that they're talking in some sort of veiled coded terms. But that aside, you guys be the judge for yourselves as we watch these links later. Q post 151, 160, 182. The only reason I bring these up is because President Trump keeps making these very specific number references, right? He's saying first it was 151, then it was 160, 182. He's talking about the number of countries infected with coronavirus. Now, if you go back and look at the older posts from Q, what are they? 151. How do you capture a very dangerous animal? Do you attack it from front? Do you walk through the front door? Do you signal ahead of time you will be attacking? How do you distinguish between good and bad? Who do you trust to keep secrets? How do you prevent leaks? Who do you trust to complete the mission? How do you prevent warnings being sent? Why is Admiral R so important? Why was the source code to the former NSA collections publicly released? And P's, I'm assuming, is programs. It says, how do you blind the clowns in America? What was Snowden's primary mission? What was Snowden's real primary mission? Was Snowden truly acting on his own? Nothing is as it appears. What show is being put on by AG Sessions since his confirmation? What show is being put on by POTUS since AG's confirmation? What was AG Sessions' confirmation challenged heavily? Why was Rod Rosenstein's not? Etc. Then it goes on to talk about why was POTUS going to Hawaii? Everything we learned about those rogue subs and possible missile launches that may or may not have happened. Of course, Q pointing out the Air Force has in-air refueling ability, yet they chose to land there. Then it asks about why the sealed indictments were outside of D.C. and why the judicial appointments were being rapidly completed. Who can you trust? And again, that was 151. Then referencing 160, it was where it talks about the importance of Hugh Hefner think of it this way. Hugh invites over a celeb politician. Hugh offers them something younger. Hugh offers them a safe space to do it in. Hugh tapes an encounter, sends tape to CIA. CIA has person by the you-know-what for life. This is majorly important to what has been keeping people in control for so long. Cut to today, and just like Oprah's mansion in South Florida, the Playboy Mansion is under serious construction. Were there tunnels under it? Yeah, I've heard people confirming this. People who have been to that mansion on Twitter now coming out and coming forward and saying that they confirmed that. Now, obviously, you can only take that for them, take it, with a grain of salt because that's what they're saying. But historically, this is something that Q told us about in the past would be coming up, and now President Trump's mentioning it again. I mean, to me, I don't see the coincidences there being, and then referencing 182, right, which talks about this scene from Macbeth. The same scene in Macbeth talks about a falcon flying freely before being ambushed by an owl. It is noted that the owl does not normally hunt the falcon. The scene continues to talk about many odd happenings and a darkness on the horizon for humanity. It is noted that even the horses are rebelling and turning upon one another, specifically each other. Is it possible that the Clintons have turned on the Rothschilds? The Fly Eagle Fly may even be a veiled threat directed towards the Clintons, we know type thing. And then Q just responds, what does the owl represent to certain cults? And see, the owl represents a bunch of different things. Obviously, people connected to Moloch and the worship of that, Luciferianism, Satanism in no other terms. But this is interesting too, because the owl is a bird of prey. It's a bird that hunts at night. It's a bird that's associated with wisdom and being wise. And this is something they adapted for their own indoctrination purposes and using it as a symbol that, in my opinion, is a symbol of threat too to those who talk, because the owl comes and gets you. It'll even take down the biggest of the birds, predatory birds. So I'm only putting it out because President Trump says it in this press conference, which we're going to watch highlights from. And of course, Q tells us about it in future posts. But a few other things before we go. There's this Twitter account, Entheos. Don't know where this information is coming from, but my sources told me to look at this, and it's really a big deal. If you want to check out their account, obviously I'll leave a link in the description, but here's one that stood out to me from March of this year, March 8th to be exact, saying that someone's still granting corrupt left-wing cyber company CrowdStrike complete access to the RNC security network. They will steal information, emails, leaked strategies, plus more regarding upcoming elections. This must be resolved as soon as possible. Now, you're going to have to go and do your own research, because I can't go through every one of his posts right now because it would just take too long. But when you start looking at this account and maybe seeing some of the things I've been tweeting out about it, come follow me on Twitter if you want to get that info. But like I said, I'll leave a link in the description. You can go look back and see where he was making calls 3 years ago about stuff that's coming up here today. And there's a lot of information that can be gleaned off of that. So definitely go and do your own research there and dig deeper. Anons, you should get out there and get that info. Look, go check it out for yourself. I'm telling you guys to look at it. So I'll leave a link in the description, obviously, to check that out. Going back to another interesting thing I saw on Twitter here, U.S. Marines tweeting out that on this day in 1917, a number that's been popping up a lot in President Trump's press conferences, the United States entered the Great War, where Marines would fight and sustain land campaigns before returning from those battles to immediately be redesigning how to go to war. Now, why would they put this tweet out? I don't know, but I can tell you that they have redesigned the way we're going to war right now. And I think that's, all the people out there saying there's no evidence about the subterranean children layers where people are being held or whatever. Look, I understand that, but I also understand that you don't shut down the country and put us in the position that we're in if we're not engaged in a major battle that has been confirmed by the President of the United States. And we're going to see that in these highlights that I'm going to show you from the press conference yesterday that he gave, where he explicitly basically tells us, yes, there are operations going on that are meant to not only stop trafficking of drugs, but also of children and women specifically. So listen, whether it's above ground, below ground, or in space or in the ocean, the Marines and the military are on it right now, and there's an active operation that's taking it down, the whole network, the whole thing, right? And I've heard from sources, we talked about people kicking around, oh, there's going to be 3 days of darkness. You guys, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'll tell you, it can't hurt to be prepared. Make sure you have everything stocked up. And if something like that were to happen, let's say hypothetically there were 3 days where everything went dark, wouldn't it be an interesting date to pick if it started on the 10th, Good Friday, and ended on the 12th, basically at the end of Easter Sunday? Just throwing that out there. I don't know if that's true or not. Just asking you guys to look at it. It's a question. We can ask questions, right? We're going to talk about how YouTube is coming after us through these LARPs that are happening when we come back. So watch these clips, and then we're going to talk about everything else.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Paycheck Protection Program has gotten off to a confusing start for small
I don't
businesses
think so. I think it's done very well.
Wells Fargo has stopped taking applications. Bank of America
Not
initially
anymore, they haven't.
prioritized taking applications from clients that were already
Bank of
borrowers.
America has been the leader, taking tremendous numbers of applications. And of course, there may have been, they wanted to have a slightly different application. They wanted to have a little different information. But Bank of America has been a leader. They're number one in terms of applications. I wish you'd ask the question differently. Why don't you say it's gotten off to a tremendous start, but there are some little glitches, which, by the way, have been worked out. It would be so much nicer if you do that. But you're just incapable of asking a question in a positive way. But it's such a positive event, and you ask it in such a negative way. It just, I wish we had a fair media in this country, and we really don't.
But that's what it was there for. And I don't know the Inspector General. I don't know that person. I tell you one thing I have a problem with. If there was such a problem that she knew about or he knew about on March 23rd and 24th, why did I find out about the tests from them on the news media at 8 o'clock this morning? If there was a problem, I think you're ethically obliged to tell me where that is so we can interact with it like I do every single day. But that's a discussion for the future. I think testing is really in a good position right now, and I'd be happy to expand on some of the really good tests that are coming up.
How long has that person been in government?
Did serve in the previous administration.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. Oh, I see. You didn't tell me that, John. You didn't tell me that. Did serve in the previous administration. You mean the Obama administration. Thank you for telling me that. See, there's a typical fake news deal.
You asked me when she was appointed. I told you when she was appointed.
You're a
by your
third-rate
administration.
reporter, and what you just said is a disgrace, okay? You asked me, you said, sir, just got appointed. Take a look at what you said now. I said, when did this person, how long in government? Well, it was appointed in the Obama administration. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. You will never make it. Go ahead. And what I want to do is two things. A real infrastructure, not a Green New Deal. You know, the carbon footprint. I'm not looking for the carbon footprint. We want to put people to work. But a real, and frankly, for so many years, we've let our infrastructure go to hell because we were wasting all our money in the Middle East and other places, okay? I want to rebuild our country. I don't want to rebuild. We're tired. We've rebuilt, if you call it that. We're destroyed, frankly. What we've done is so crazy. What we have done, the direction that this country has taken is so sad. But we're in the Middle East for $8 trillion. And if you want to fix a pothole in a highway, you can't do it because they don't want to give you the funds. So we want to have an infrastructure bill, a real one, like in the vicinity of $2 trillion to completely rebuild our roads, our bridges, our highways, our tunnels, everything. And I'm totally open to listening to that. I'm also open to listening to and even putting forward, because we're going to be putting something forward, more money for our citizens because they've gone through trauma. This has been trauma. This came out of nowhere. And I say it, and I'll say it again, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the most people working in the history of our country, almost 160 million people, far more than ever before. And then one day, our professionals correctly came to us, and they said, sorry, sir, we have to close down our country. And I said, say it again. Say it again. We have to close down our country. And the entire world closed down. because of this hidden enemy. No, we're going to take good care of our people. It was not their fault. That's because they view this as a campaign issue. They want to make Trump look as bad as they can because they want to try and win an election that they shouldn't be allowed to win based on the fact that we have done a great job. We built the greatest economy in the world. I'll do it a second time. We got artificially stopped by a virus that nobody ever thought possible. And we've handled it, and we've built a team, and we've built an apparatus that's been unbelievable. Take a look at the swine flu, right? That's H1N1. Take a look at that. And it's not the other way around, by the way. It's H1N1. You know what I mean by that. Take a look at the swine flu. It was a disaster. 17,000 people died. The other administration, they didn't even know. It was like they didn't even know it was here. And that was peanuts compared to what we have in terms of the power, the magnitude of what we're going through.
Security front, to the extent that you can comment on this, your administration is making heavy preparations to move against the cartels in Latin America right now. And could you
said
expand,
Latin America?
Yes.
Yes.
Could you expand on the reasoning of why now? Are there supply and logistics especially weak? Is it political?
Yeah.
What's the reasoning?
Good question. We've moved a tremendous a number of boats and ships to the area of different areas of exactly where you're talking about, because we're tired of drugs pouring into our country from other places, and we're tired of seeing drugs pouring into different parts of Latin America, South America, and just coming into our country. Now we've got them stopped at the border, and they're trying to do it by sea. So we stop them at the border and frankly, with the help of Mexico. Mexico right now has 27,000 soldiers on our southern border. They never had any soldiers. They're doing that because I've asked them to do it. That's the only reason they're doing it. They have 27,000 soldiers. So now they're trying to bring it in by boat and by ship, the drug lords and the people doing drugs and trying to destroy our country from inside with drugs. And we're hitting them very, very hard. And that's why we're doing it.
Activities that U.S. assets are targeting, or
Say it?
is it beyond narcotics? Are there other illicit activities that
Well,
U.S. assets are
there are
targeting?
the activities of human trafficking, and especially with respect to women. As you know, proportionally, it's mostly women. And it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. And there's never been a time like it. And it's because of the internet. And this is all over the world. But for the most part, they're coming through, in this country, they're coming through the southern border. But we're hitting them very hard. They have tremendous illegal trafficking in women and children also, but mostly in women. And it's illegal, and it's horrible, and it's disgraceful. And I've seen things that are an absolute disgrace. And we're trying to knock them out, and we're knocking them hard.
So there you saw President Trump laying it all out. And I want to go back to this tweet from the United States Marines, because one of the things that stood out to me in this video they posted was talking about an English intercept of a German telegram sent to Mexico during World War II, which was basically a proposal to have an alliance between both Germany and Mexico. In exchange, Germany would help Mexico recover lost territories such as Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Germany then resumed its sinking of passenger ships by U-boats. So why are we being told this? I think it really is where we've been placed. And it's funny how, history tends to repeat itself, and it definitely rhymes. So you're seeing that here happening again. I mean, there are certain factions and countries that hate us still that would gladly try to undermine our position as the global leader of the world, basically, in all categories. So this, to me, is exactly what we're up against as a whole, and that's why it's very good to be diligent and keep your eyes on what's happening here. A few other things I want to talk about really quick, where this guy claiming to be Q on Twitter, it's interesting to me that I'm not even going to really talk about who they are. It doesn't matter, but say they're Joe M, Julian's Rum, everybody's been going after him. And I chimed in and gave my 2 cents a while ago. Worth pointing out here is that this Truth Hammer is a great patriot, been doing some reporting on the court proceedings with this individual. And it does appear that this was all set up because, the fake news, not going to say his name at the Daily Beast, but you know who I'm talking about. The biggest hack reporter in all of DC wrote a piece on this guy Then he goes on YouTube and starts making threats to corporations. Now he's in court. The FBI actually went after him for this extortion. So of course now they're going to write their fake news stories trying to tie us all in to whatever this, as far as I'm concerned, loser's plan was. It was all, in my opinion, a way to set up the QAnon movement once again, a way to remove us. And how I know that that's what it was is because just the other day, more than a day after this guy goes to basically court and has this is raided and everything, I get this notice saying that they're gonna, not that I was making anything off of YouTube monetization anyway, because they demonetize every video I produce, but now they actually kicked me out of the monetization program, citing my content as being harmful content. Now this is serious, because what they're doing is a gross violation of just honesty and integrity, because they're using these examples of these psychopaths, which are being set up, you know, as straw men to be used against us, right? To remove us from these platforms, to limit our ability to access them, to limit our ability to, for a lot of people who won't be able to weather this storm, it could end an entire channel, right? I know I've heard a lot of other channels have gone through the same thing just recently. And then they can't afford to go out and do the reporting and to counter the fake news mainstream narrative, which is being propped up by the same corporations, right, who want to purge the platform, the digital platform YouTube, of any dissenting opinions against the, you know, mainstream orthodoxy of propaganda, where you have actual mainstream corporations who are being promoted by these big tech fascists telling us that we should be believing the Chinese communist propaganda. So, you know, I need your support. I'm thankful for every one of you who is on Patreon or whatever you're doing to help create. I mean, even if you're just praying or, you know, hitting the subscribe button, whatever. I really am thankful, because I put my life to God, and they're never going to stop me. I mean, they're never going to be able to take away my voice. I will keep going 100 miles an hour trying to expose every single one of them. And they don't understand that the more that they do this, they're just exposing themselves, right? Because the content that I produce is not harmful to anyone. They know that, you know that, but they have to say that. They use these straw men to put us, lump us into these categories so they can get rid of us. They can throw us into the digital gulag like Matt Drudge talked about and others have talked about. So look, that's where we're at, guys. That's where we're at. So I just thought I'd point that out before we go. A few more things to talk about. Obviously, come here, support the channel. You guys are the reason they did it, because you guys are breaking through their content suppression algorithm by watching these videos and sharing them by hand and getting it out there. That's how I've been. I mean, obviously, they realize their content algorithms don't work if you actually go seek out this content and then share it and get it out there. So you guys are the ones that have kept all this alive. So thank you. I'm blessed by God to be where I'm at, and I just want to continue to do His will and to help others. So, you know, thank you for that. But you can come here, watch these videos, hit the subscribe, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about everything. Also, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. Remember, download it for free using the link in the description. It's a better internet browser. It blocks the ads. It makes your internet experience that much better. Download it, install it, and run it today, and then they'll make a contribution to this channel. Obviously, you guys have kept it alive by, you know, checking out these products. And I'm only going to give you products that I like and I use and that I think you guys should check out. So it's hopefully going to just lead to a better system here. And I thank you for your support in checking all that out. Also, you can come find me over here on Twitter at JustinformedTalk. That is JustinformedU is the Twitter handle. I'm over at justinformednews.com, bitshoot.com/JustinformedTalk is the backup channel. Also Patreon. If you guys want to financially support this channel, you are the ones that keep it going. The guys over here on Patreon, all you guys are what keep this channel alive. So thank you for that. It's a crowdfunding website. It's a monthly donation. You can come here and set it and forget it. I know that you're creating content on a regular basis here, but definitely go check that out. I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything that we've talked about will be in the description. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today I want to share a verse out of Romans chapter 8, verse 28, through 29, or actually just verse 28, I should say. And then we're going to talk about it very briefly. But it says, "We know that all things work together for the good of those who love God, those who are called according to his purpose." Now, I was watching a sermon the other day on Sunday. We're all kind of in the same position where we have to get our church fix online or however we can, whether it's through live stream or teleconference. But I heard, a great breakdown of that verse, and I wanted to share it with you guys because it's, whenever I hear something that's powerful and thought-provoking and makes my, spirit kind of raise up, I share it. I try to. But it was saying that, we know all things work together for the good of those who love God, but are all those things always good? And that was the kind of message. And I thought to myself, wow, what a profound way to look at it. Because, sometimes we're going to go through things that we don't understand why we're going through this affliction. Sometimes we're going to have moments where it seems like all hope is lost. And sometimes, as a part of life, bad things happen. But my prayer is that you guys out there understand that if we keep our faith, if we live righteously, if we do all we can to be the best people we can be every single day, to help others, to be lights in the world, and to help shine a light on this evil and to expose it, we'll be all right. We just got to put our lives in God's hands and trust him. Have that trust. God is just, all God wants, I really think, is for us to have that faith and trust in him, to know that no matter what, everything will be okay. Because no matter what happens here in this world, we know we have eternal salvation. We know the sacrifice made by Jesus on the cross. Take that and use it in your heart, and use the Holy Spirit who's in you, and use the power of God that can come down through you, and the power that Jesus has given us through his sacrifice on the cross. Just use that every day. Share that with your family, friends, and loved ones. Be righteous, be moral, be upstanding. Do the right thing when no one's watching, no matter what, because you know that ultimately you're trying to live better. You're trying to be better than those who are living in sin. And it's ultimately to help those who are living in sin, right? We're trying to lead by example and live by example. So that's what I thought of when I read that. And then it says, those who are called according to his purpose are the ones who will be involved in this. So if we listen, maybe we'll hear God's calling. So that's my message to you, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you for watching. Remember to come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and also don't forget to come here and watch or hit it, punch it, tap it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.